This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at an exciting Android tablet. This is the Acer Iconia Tab A700, and it's the first 1080p Android tablet to hit the market. And we're going to look at it now. The Acer Iconia Tab A700. I think this is going to sell really well, folks. $449, and for that you get a 1080p display, a quad-core Tegra 3 processor, and 32 gigs of storage, plus a lot of other stuff too. But that's really pretty compelling for those who want a higher quality display. As you're taking a look at it right now, you're thinking, well, that looks a lot like the standard Android desktop, and that's because it does scaling well, because the 1080p on 10.1 inches would be pretty darn teeny tiny to see. So what you're getting instead is a lot sharper text, images that pop more, and also this is a very nice panel in terms of color quality. You can probably just see right here, the warm tones really come out nicely in the grass. This is not as cool as the Acer Iconia A510 display was, which is kind of on the cool side. In general, color gamut is pretty good on this, a nice wide range of natural colors and good luminescence too, so that the highlights really do pop out and give you that naturalness, and they are kind of warmish highlights. So watching videos, really great. Looking at photos, very pleasing. The whole thing, very nice. Now, is this something you're going to put this next to the Acer Iconia A510, which is pretty much the same tablet, just with the standard resolution 1280 by 800 pixel display, and say, wow, look at that, it's a whole new world? No, not so much. The differences are subtle. This is kind of like the difference between the iPad 2 and the new iPad. Yes, it looks better. You got to look at it and think about it and say, wow, it just kind of looks prettier. Why is that? I'm not sure. And sharper and all that kind of thing. But in the case of the Iconia Tab A710, you're not paying a big price premium here for the 1080p display. I know Asus has been talking about charging $100 more for their 1080p tablet when it comes out sometime in the middle of July 2012. So here, you're getting a lot for your money, and it's probably worth it to get that 1080p display. And one interesting thought, you can actually watch 1080p video natively without any kind of scaling necessary on the internal panel. No resorting to HDMI if you actually want to play it on the 1080p display. In terms of features, design, looks, this is the Acer Iconia A510 all over again, including the bundled software even. It looks pretty much identical. It has the same ports, it has the same software, it runs Android OS 4.0 Ice Cream Sandwich. It's running 4.04 to be specific. And with a relatively little customization of user interface, we don't usually see much on Ice Cream Sandwich tablets. 10.1 inch display, 10 points of multi-touch are supported. Acer claims 178-degree wide viewing angles. I'm not seeing that so much, but it may be because this is also a very glossy panel, so the glare does become an issue as you move off to the side with this tablet. Nice viewing angles when you're holding it in front of you like you naturally would, no having to tilt it back and forth or anything like that. Just saying, if you go all the way out to the side, well, yeah, things get a little harder to see. The display has 224 ppi pixel density, and that's obviously quite high. You're looking at about, well, double the resolution of a standard Android 10-inch tablet that's running at 1280 by 800, and it compares pretty nicely to the 264 ppi new iPad. Still not quite as high, but then again, how good are your eyes? Can you really see the difference between 224 and 268 or 264? Not so sure. Text looks really nice and sharp on this. Let's just put it that way. In terms of features, we've got the front 1 megapixel camera. On the side, we have our micro USB port right here. And this is for transferring data to the tablet. This is not the USB host port. That's the interesting thing. Just like the A510, we have this combo port. It looks a little bit funky if we zoom in and take a look at it. That's because it's got notches on it, so you can only use Acer's own charger with this, but it also accepts micro USB cables, and you can use the included micro USB dongle to use USB peripherals with this for USB host mode. We'll cover that a bit more later. And you can see there's your reset hole. And we have our stereo speakers with good separation, one on each end. Nice volume. Again, like the A510, this has quite nice sound, and it has Dolby Mobile 3 audio that's upgradable to 3+. Back to this side again, you can see there's a little door here. You open it up, there's your micro SD card slot. And that slot supports SD card slots up to SDXC, which means 64 gig capacity. And this is a dummy slot over here, does nothing. If it had a SIM card slot or a micro SIM card slot, well, that's where it would be. It does not. This is a Wi-Fi only tablet, at least in the United States. Top corner here we have our volume controls, and you can see two little dots on one end, one dot on the other, so you can feel the difference, so you know if you're going up or down. And it's your rotation lock slider. Over here we have our headphone jack, the power button, nicely raised, metal, good tactile, but not like accidentally easy to press kind of button, so I like that quite a bit. And on the back we have Acer's rubbery, rugged, soft touch kind of finish. This is available in your choice of black or silver, by the way. And we have the 5 megapixel camera back here, and the little Dolby logo, and that's it. No Olympic rings here. I know some of you were bent out of shape about the A510's Olympic rings. Not sure what's wrong with the Olympics exactly, but nothing here except for the Acer logo and the Dolby logo. Not the skinniest tablet on the planet, again, just like the A510. This is 0.43 inches thick, so, well, not super fatty either, and it weighs 1.47 pounds. And just like the A510, we forgive Acer because they managed to put a 9800 milliamp battery in this. That's a big battery. They claim up to 13 hours of video playback time for locally stored content and 11 hours of streaming playback. Now, we're still testing the battery, but so far, battery life is quite good, and this display is not inordinately draining it. Now, speaking of that 1080p display and any kind of detrimental effects it might have, obviously so far it looks like battery life is doing pretty well, and performance is good too. We were wondering if the 1080p display would really drag down performance. It's pretty close to the A510, running on this same 1.3 gigahertz Tegra 3 quad-core processor with 5th companion core. In quadrant, we got a 3646, which is pretty close to the A510, which scored 3800. On Antutu, we got 10,536, just about identical to the A510 and to other quad-core Tegra 3 10-inch tablets. SunSpider actually did better, 1958. That's a test where lower numbers are better. And the Egypt off-screen test was 58 FIPS. Really very good stuff. They're a little bit lower than the 63-ish FIPS we've been seeing on standard resolution tablets, but boy, if you're only losing 5 FIPS and gaining that much resolution, no complaints there. The tablet has 32 gigs of internal storage, and of course you can augment that with micro SD cards and also with USB flash drives and hard drives using the included USB host cable. It has a gig of DDR2 RAM. Sorry, no DDR3 here, nor is it 2 gigs, obviously. It is 1 gig. Single band Wi-Fi and Bluetooth 2.1 plus EDR. When it comes to software, we've got your standard Android experience right here. We have Acer's usual clock combined with weather widget, and yes, it's a really darn hot day here today. Little calendar thing going on, and we have a separate weather widget again because Acer thinks you should really know what's going on outside. And other than that, you have pretty much just the standard selection of Android widgets. You can see that they bundled Real Racing here, Monopoly, Netflix is pre-installed, we have Kindle pre-installed as well, Zinio, Polaris Office, nice, it's the full version of Polaris Office with that HD interface, we'll show you. And a very pretty presentation there, all sorts of document templates you can start with as Word, PowerPoint, and Excel files, and you can create them and edit them. This is not just a viewer, and it has access to boxed cloud storage too. The screen on this is not super sensitive to touch. Acer actually provides settings for touch. I'll show you all the settings here. First, here's a shortcut to all your wireless radios, your sound, your auto rotation feature, notifications, good stuff there, your brightness control. So that's pretty handy. But if we take a look at settings, and at display, you can see we have a touch panel sensitivity option here, and I have it set to high, and I find that I really have to poke kind of hard at this. One of the few things I don't like about it. While we're looking at settings here, you can see you've got access to Dolby Mobile sounds here. The ring, which is this Acer launcher ring here that you can customize which applications that will launch. Acer Print, because it does have network printing based capabilities for your most common printers, HP, PCL printers, that kind of thing. And the rest of the stuff is pretty much your normal Android. In terms of other software, you have your standard Google applications here. You got Gmail, email, the web browser. Adobe Flash is not pre-installed, but that's a free download on the Android market. You have the YouTube player, you have Google Talk, all the goodies are here. And Maps, and yes, it has a GPS that actually does work, and Google Maps. As I always say with any Wi-Fi based tablet, remember you're either going to have to preload your maps on the device or have some kind of mobile hotspot available if you want to use this on the go when you're away from traditional Wi-Fi networks at your home, office, Starbucks, that kind of thing. Acer's Clear.fi is here, and that's for wireless DLNA sharing of media, and we've got Wild Tangent link here to Wild Tangent Games, a voice recorder. All the basics are on board. And of course the Google Play Store, so you can download applications. And for those of you who are not familiar with Acer's Ring, here it is, a little persistent belly button. And there you've got access to your bookmarks over here, taking screenshots, and the applications of your choice, settings, search. Search is a little bit redundant because you always have that search bar right up here for Android, but anyway, you can customize this, put whatever apps you want, and you can scroll through all your bookmarks and just go ahead and pick one, like so. And here's CNN website, rendered in its full beauty, no mobilization going on here. And that's a pretty complex page, so I'd say that's fairly good rendering and download times, especially because we have this giant flash ad playing up here. That's slowing things down a little bit. Now for something more civilized, let's visit our own website. And you can see here's a standard Android keyboard. That loads a lot more quickly and smoothly, even at 1080p, and text is nice and sharp, super duper sharp in fact. The pinch zooming might not be quite as fast as on your standard resolution quad-core tablet, but again, I think it's worth it for the clarity of text that you get. While we're looking at the browser, there's an interesting little enhancement over here. See that square barcode symbol? Tap on it and it'll make a square barcode of whatever page you're on, so you can share it with somebody or bookmark it using yet another device. Interesting. So how about books? One of the reasons you might want a sharper, more high-resolution display is for books. So we're here in Google Play Books, and we're going to check out a book now. And you can see it's a neutral white, which is very easy on the eyes. It's not just pleasing for photographs, but the lack of a tint is more restful for your eyes. Nice sharp illustrations here, text is looking good. And if we zoom in, you can see just how nice the text looks. So certainly pleasant for e-reading. The only thing that isn't so pleasant is the glare, but that's a problem with all these tablets. They have very glossy displays. The tablet does have USB host, and that means you can use USB peripherals. And Acer always does a really good job of supporting USB peripherals. It supports keyboards, mice, game controllers, hard drives, flash drives, even NTFS. They actually include NTFS support, which is unusual. We have a Western Digital Passport 500 gig hard drive that's supported formatted NTFS, and we're going to plug it in right now and see what happens. This is the little dongle adapter that Acer includes in the box. They don't make you go hunt for one of these hard to find little things. Just plug your USB peripheral into that, and then we stick that into the multi-purpose port on the bottom. My only complaints about this, you can see right now we're already tilted a little bit because this sticks out the bottom. So if you actually want to use it with the stand, you're going to need a taller stand. The other problem is that if you want to charge and use a USB peripheral at the same time, you can't do that because they both use the same port, the charger and the USB host port here. That's one thing that the Toshiba Excite really has going for it. It has USB host and has a separate USB port that is not combined with the charging port. But that said, let's see. We've got a little USB symbol down here. It says there's your USB storage. And we'll use the included file manager to take a look at what we've got here. And here's my internal storage. This is my SD card that I've installed, and this is my hard drive right here, and there's my stuff. So let's try playing some music directly from the hard drive. Voila, it works. And we're just about half volume right now, so it's pretty loud and nice sounding. So there it is, handy dandy USB mass storage right on the device. Now, you're still going to be beholden to Android and drivers, so USB 3G and 4G dongles, no, there aren't Android drivers for that, nor for USB sound cards, some of the more advanced things. You're just looking at the basic peripherals here. So now let's get to the good stuff. How about some video on this 1080p display? We have our usual 1080p trailer, which on other displays has to scale to fit. In this case, we're going to be able to play full 1080p on the 1080p display. This is a 5.1 MPEG-4 high-profile video, and by the way, this does output 5.1 audio over the micro HDMI port that it has. In person, I can tell you it looks very nice, very sharp, great colors, a lot of luminance too that really brings people's faces alive. And how about some Tegra Zone games? We're going to use Dark Meadow here because, well, that is one of the most gorgeous games currently available for Android. Lots of detail in the game. Little bit, some gross monsters here, so those of you who don't like gross, disgusting monsters, well, it does have those. Alright, so here we are facing one of our usual disgusting monsters here. You can see lots of beautiful detail. Screen requires, again, you gotta have a firm touch here. For those of you who played the game, it makes that side dodging a little bit more difficult because you really gotta remember to press firmly. And again, you can hear the speakers, and we'll go into a little lighter area so you can see some more detail.
While you're looking around, you may run into some...
Really nice graphics, made even better by this beautiful display.
They are not friendly.
Nice view of the sky.
It seems like they can't really kill you.
Good speed.
More times than I can count. You get into it with them, they get the
Very responsive, as you can see. You can make yourself dizzy doing that. So there's Dark Meadow, a very demanding Tegra 3 game that uses the Unreal Engine. And those of you who've read about the Acer Iconia A700, you know that it got toasty when playing games, and I went through the entire pretty long game of Dark Meadow toasting my right hand because this corner right here on the backside got up to about 106 degrees sometimes, and happily you would think this might run even hotter because it's pushing more pixels, but no. I don't know if Acer tweaked something, but it really, the hottest it's gotten is 99, which is warm, you'll feel it, but it's not going to make your hand start sweating. The camera on this is well unchanged from the A700, which is to say it's mediocre. You got a 5 megapixel shooter on the back, does 720p video. Not the world's best camera, but adequate. It can capture shots if you don't mind waving a 1.5 pound tablet around to take pictures and shoot video. And it has a 1 megapixel camera up front for video chat. Again, it's adequate, not the best we've seen, not the worst, gets the job done. Works with Skype, works with Google Talk video chat, and other applications as well. So all in all, I think Acer has another compelling product here. We were pretty impressed with the A700. Might not be the thinnest and the lightest tablet, but had great battery life, a whole lot of features for a low price tag. And again, this one that's already starting to ship right now, Amazon actually has them in stock, offers a lot of bang for the buck. It's definitely one of the nicer Android tablets on the market. My only reservations are touchscreen is not the most sensitive. This isn't the same problems with the A700 that some folks had where just a certain edge region at the bottom was insensitive. This in general just requires a harder tap. It works, you just got to have a firmer touch that I'm accustomed to on Android tablets. The other thing is we've noticed some stability issues here, and then that may have to do with the resolution. A couple more crashes than we're used to seeing in Dark Meadow, for example, and even the Google Play Store sometimes crashed on this. Not unbearable, not 20 times a day, but more noticeable than on the average tablet. Of course, this thing is brand spanking new, and Acer tends to release a firmware within a couple of weeks after releasing a product that updates all the little, makes fixes rather for all the little problems that the tablet might have. So all in all, we're liking it a lot. Nice product, great price, and full 1080p display. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Visit our website to read the full review of the Acer Iconia Tab A700, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.